Hello, seasoners, and welcome back to part two of our interview. Actually, I like to call it part deux because my guest is French, and we are back with Benoit Collard. Hey, Benoit, how are you?
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good, good, good. So we left off, I think it was Turks and Caicos in 88, and you were about to, I guess, go on the inaugural voyage of the Club Med 1, correct?
That's correct, yes. We actually went to Le Havre, which was the place where the ship was built. So that was our first place there. There was no guest, obviously. So that was where we all met to go on Club Med 1.
Now, does someone mash the champagne bottle against the hull? And if so, who had the pleasure of doing that? Do you know? Or it's just too long ago to remember?
I don't remember, but yes, we did this. I think it's actually happening. Well, now that I remember, it may have happened before we went there because the ship was already on the water. It was not done being built, and they were actually running behind. So at that point, we stayed 3 weeks in Le Havre, first sleeping in a hotel, and then we went on the ship. So we were giving tours to people, VIP, that were coming, visiting the ship. So.
And what was your route to be during that first voyage? Were you doing the Atlantic or Mediterranean?
So we were crossing the Atlantic to go to the Caribbean. So trying to remember, and I mentioned that kind of disclaimer, I'm trying to remember all the dates. It's over 35 years ago, but I remember when we arrived in December and we stayed there for a few weeks. And the plan was to cross the Atlantic early the following year. And crossing the Atlantic was the first trip with no guest. So we crossed the Atlantic with no one. But we had people that were finishing the ship. The ship was not completed. So a bunch of people were still working, finishing the cabins and everything.
Now, in your last interview, you mentioned how you had scuba, so you're in charge of scuba. But as I understand, there wasn't a hyperbaric chamber on the ship, right?
That's absolutely correct. And the ship was not designed for scuba. So the two compressors were beyond. So I'm sure you know this, but for our guests who doesn't, the Club Med 1 and Club Med 2 have a door that open on the back, and that's where all the sports are departing. So actually, the two compressors we put on board were quite far away. We had to carry the tanks. So yes, no decompression chamber on the ship. So, and two instructors only. So one instructor and myself. So we're only two.
So what do you remember about this historic Club Med 1 ship?
So the crossing, I've never been on a ship before in my life. So, and it's in, I think it was February. So it's moving quite a bit. So you learn how to have sea legs, basically. I was not sick, but you feel weird. And it's a small ship. I mean, in the ship world, it's only 350 passengers, so moves quite a bit. A lot of people were sick crossing the ocean for the first time. I mean, the crew, talking about the GOs in general. But we had to learn to work with the crew. The crew was not Club Med employees. They were from a different company, and the chief of village was Yannick, and we had to learn how to work with the captain. The captain is really in charge of the ship, so all of this was interesting. But we crossed the Atlantic, and it took us, if I remember, 2 or 3 weeks to get there, because we did a few stops and a few interesting story when we arrived finally in Martinique.
Okay, and I imagine, though, just quick, if I can insert something here, when the seas were rough, I'm sure you weren't drinking the chocolate milkshakes, right, for breakfast?
No,
you learned your lesson, right?
That's absolutely right. We were also rehearsing for the shows. So no shows, no rehearsal during it's still moving. They say it's not a storm, but it's still moving quite a bit.
So Martinique was your first port of call, I guess?
That's right. So you're gonna, as a scuba diving instructor, Greg, you are going to appreciate this. So we arrived in.
I just want to say, Benoit, because I caught it in your last interview. Just for the record, I wasn't an instructor. I was a scuba gestion. I am open water certified, but I was a gestion scuba. Yeah, just to clear that up. No, I was on the scuba team, but no, I was just gestionnaire scuba.
You love scuba diving.
Yes. Yeah.
So we arrived in Martinique 3 weeks. Again, don't quote me on the timing, but maybe 3 weeks before the first guests are arriving. So at that point, this is what I spent my time on. During those 3 weeks, Yannick said, you're going to need to figure what scuba diving location you're going to use for each stop. So almost every day, I was traveling with the excursion manager, and we were taking a flight, flying to one of the islands, landing, and she was exploring the excursions, and I was going to the local scuba diving shop, and I was diving. So I did that for not every day, but for a number of weeks, which was awesome, of course. So I had the opportunity to fly all over the place during those 3 weeks.
Wow, it sounds like you had a good time on the ship.
Oh, absolutely. Not as good the first few weeks because now the GMs are arriving, obviously. So a couple of stories, and as geos, you will appreciate this. The idea of the ship was people were mostly flying from France, from Paris, and you were checking in your suitcase with the airline in Paris, and you will find your suitcase back on the front of your door on the ship. So you didn't have to get your suitcases when they arrive in Martinique. And everything went wrong. We could not quite find the suitcase. And after that, when we find the suitcases, we bring them over on the ship, and it took forever. People were waiting for hours. It was not great. So that was short-lived, and we decided to move away from that. So,
okay. Do you have any other stories you'd like to share before we go?
Yeah, of course. The second one that I remember about very demanding. We were all learning and working on the ship, but one of the stories that really is with me is our first stop in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So I don't remember. We were supposed to arrive at 7 a.m. So we arrive, and this is the first time that we are actually clearing customs with a U.S. port, and paperwork was not quite ready, and we were never able to leave the ship until noon. So people were waiting for excursions from 8 a.m. to noon. Again, the timing may not be right. So a lot of unhappy people, but very understanding as well. So all those challenges are happening, when you do an opening. But in general, I love cruising, learn about the ship, work closely with the crew. When I say the crew, the captain and the officers. And all of the officers were scuba divers. So they came scuba diving with me. We became really good friends. So challenging season, that first season, but I loved it. And Yannick was an amazing chef de village in French. So that really was great.
Nice. Okay. Are you ready to go to Monastir?
Sure.
Because there's not many geos that I've interviewed have worked here. So your chica village was Gamounet, right?
That's right. So
and something happens to you that kind of irks me, which I mentioned to you before.
You should, because it's not fair. Don't ask me how all of that happened. We were actually two. My friend Remy, who was responsible for water ski, and myself. Obviously, we are working for 1 year on the ship. It's the opening, and not always easy conditions. But at the time, I don't even remember. I mean, that it was so difficult. And possibly we could have been ready to go to do the stage of chief of sport after the first season, but obviously they wanted us to stay 1 year. So at the time we were told, you will become chief of sport in the winter, which it's impossible in general. But don't ask me all of those what happened, but we both became chief of sport without doing the stage and going straight to a village. So I ended up going to Monastir, met Gamounet on the ship, came a few times. We got along very well, so that was the reason he brought me over in Monastir my first season, chef des sports, which is it's funny, Greg. You don't receive the training, but you pretty much know what to do, right? You just come in and
you don't have a choice either, right? You have to sink or swim.
That's right. So I do have a Hansel story for you, just for my first season in Monastir, if you're interested.
Yes, please.
So arrive, as you know, when you're chef, you have to pick a music, right? An announcement music that every time you do, at least in my time, every time you do the games at the pool or introduce the sport team. So I did my best to pick a music, and no music was good. So I said, what is the best music that I ever heard that will be perfect for me? And it was the Hansel music. I don't know if he was using it for all his season. It's called Feeling Hot. I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
And I'm sure he used that all along. And I would not say stole, but borrowed his music. So from Monastir and moving to all of the other season, that was my sport music when I was chief of sports. So
Oh, everyone borrows from everyone. Trust me, they always take the good, right? But I'm not going to say anything about chief of sport without a stage. I'm going to save that for my own episode
Yeah.
when I talk about Martinique. So I'm not going to say anything, but and not that they give you microphone lessons at the stage either. But were you often on the microphone as a chief of scuba? I mean, other than the sports awards, like were you worried about, oh my God, can I MC an entire show, or were you just it was fine?
No problem. I on the ship, you have to do many different jobs. So I was doing a lot of games by the pool, a lot of love Trivial Pursuit. So I was running the Trivial Pursuit on the ship. I so no concerns with the microphone in general. I'm not a good dancer, so like a lot of us. So I didn't do very well dancing, but I did a lot of funny shows where so yeah, no issues with the microphone at all. So.
Okay. Now, what happens after Monastir, but before Agadir, your next season?
Yes, so a few things you need to know. So this is during the Gulf War. So the Gulf War has not really started, and it was the early 90s, obviously, but it was the ramping up of bringing troops to the Middle East. So at that point, the guests are still going in Tunisia, but on day one, when the war started, all of the guests left Monastir. And Tunisia, of course, was a place where people were thinking, well, maybe we should not go on vacation there during the Gulf War. So who is left in the village? It's only the GOs, the chief of village, and the workers, right? And we are instructed by the local police that we should not leave the village. So we are saying, for your safety, stay in. And Monastir was like a hotel. So we decided that what are better things to play golf during the Gulf War? And again, that was so every day we went to the golf course and we were hiding inside a van and we were driving to the golf course and we played golf pretty much every day until we were brought back to Europe. But we did that for a couple of months. So I learned how to play golf during the Gulf War. I always say that. I never felt that I was in danger by any means, but we were brought back to Europe after that. So.
And were you sent to Agadir because that's where they needed you, or did you choose?
No, that's good question. So go back home. It's in February, right? So my first season of Chef des Sports, did not finish well. And at the time, a lot of villages will be closing or at least on standby and so on. So the guy in charge of the chief of sports, and I don't even remember his name, calls me and said, hey, I don't have a Chef des Sports position for you, but would you be interested to go to Valbella, which was a ski village in Switzerland, and be responsible for the walks, so hiking. So basically people that don't ski that want to go hiking every day. And I'm like, absolutely. I go. I'm like, I have nothing else to do. So took the train, went to Valbella, and the chef de village was Barbara Piecard, and we became good friends. She was excited to have me around because I could run some shows for her, and all of this. So that was good. And at that point, Barbara is going to Agadir, and she's asked me, do you want to be my chef des sports there? And of course I said yes. And I'm on my way to Agadir.
Okay, Agadir. And how long do you spend at Agadir?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, that's right. Quick, interesting story because, Charlebois, the singer, met on the ship. I forgot to mention that. Robert Charlebois, I think. Anyway, he came and sang on the ship, and he came to Agadir as well. So it was fun to see him again. It's very fun. So.
And is this a big village? Like how many GMs do you have there? 1,200, 800? It's not small, right? It's not a small village, right?
It's not small. I'm going to probably think it was less than 1,000. I would say 800 or 900. Interesting. It was a beautiful village, but a lot of history there. A lot of people from Paris were coming over. Very demanding customer. And at the time, it was very well known. If you are chef des sports and at one point you want to become chef de village, you have to go to Agadir. So I was pretty excited to be there. I was very ambitious and I wanted to become chef of the village. So I was excited.
Yes. And this is the type of village where, because I encountered this when I was chief of sports, the very, very smart GMs know you want to be a chief of village if you're chief of sport. So they give you some very like demanding things to do, correct? To make them
I,
their stay better, right?
yeah, absolutely. I was happy with that, to tell you the truth. I'm a very customer service oriented person. I'm very love people in general. So I think that I love, solving customer service issues, people that are having problem. And so I was very happy in this environment. Definitely Club Med One gets you to learn how to do all of this. So that was great.
And then I guess after a while, you come back to the American zone. I suppose your proposed Sandpiper, right? What were you thinking about when they said, "Hey, how about Sandpiper?"
Well, very excited. Very excited because it's a big village and it's the American zone. Very happy to go there, and I'm sure will be true today. It's interesting. I discovered that most of the places I worked have closed. Obviously Martin Talk and Caicos, but Monastir, Agadir, Sandpiper is not closed, but they sold the village. But at the time, you have to go to Paris for a few days. You go to the U.S. embassy. You meet with a border officer or something like this, and you have an interview. You have to explain why an American geo could not do what I'm going to be doing. And obviously we use the language aspect to this, but so that's what we did. But no, I was very excited to go to Sandpiper. So new place, no ocean for me there. It's on the river, but I love water ski. So I was excited to go there.
Now, did you have a choice between villages, or no, it was only Sandpiper?
It was only Sandpiper. At the time, I'm trying to remember.
I only asked because this is where you meet your future wife, correct?
Oh, that's correct. It's very interesting. Again, if you look at what you do when you work for Club Med, it's interesting. I always think about if you go on the right or go on the left, it's kind of changed your full future. But that's correct. It really, that's where I met her. So a fun and sad story at the same time. So in 1991, my father passed away. That was not expected, a massive heart attack. So 1991, I have to go home at the end of the year. It's December 18th. And of course, went home, spent time with my mom, and came back on January 4th. I remember all those dates better. And when I come back, there was a new bartender, and that was my wife. So that's when I met her on January 4th, 1992, coming back from that sad story to her, basically.
Okay. Could your future wife speak French?
She did, not then. There is I will talk about this. I'm going to tell you a few things about what happened. So she was the bartender, and of course I was the chef des sports, and I'm not certain she was interested in me, but definitely I thought she was wonderful. So in Sandpiper, to play golf as a GO, you have to get a pass to play golf for free, obviously, from the chef des sports. So my storyline, Greg, was, of course you can. She's a golfer, and I said, of course you can play golf, but you're going to need to go play golf with me. So that was the way. That was the way I got her to go play golf, and from there we became closer.
And I imagine that you both golfed together, right? Like
that's correct. That's correct.
So yeah. was she better than you?
Absolutely. My God, she's okay. she's a natural. So yes, absolutely, a lot better than me. So the season goes on in Sandpiper, and at the end of the season, this is the story about the French is pretty good. She does not speak French at the time. She now speaks French, but she doesn't. At that point, chef de village, Bernard Vigier, is going on the ship, and of course, they are thinking of me as a chef des sports because I've worked on a ship. So it's always good to go with someone that knows the ship very well. And of course, I want her to go with me. So I speak with Yannick, and Yannick said, hey, she needs to speak French. So I go talk to her, and I said, listen, Yannick is going to ask you a few questions in French, and this is what you have to respond, right? The first thing he's going to ask you, what's your name? And you say Elizabeth. And second thing, he's going to ask you, where are you from? And you just say Chicago. That's it. You don't need to know more. That's going to be sufficient. So Yannick goes to the bar and say, what's your name? And she responded right away, Chicago. So that stayed with her all along with Yannick. Her nickname was Chicago. And she learned how to speak French pretty rapidly. And she was doing step aerobic, land sport, and she was really good. And so she did a great job. And so that was That was the first job there. So she crossed the Atlantic. I did not. I went back home, but I met her in, if I remember well, was probably Agadir, where the ship was stopping. So
Okay. But you both do wind up going to the Club Med 1. And
yeah,
in fact, and it probably didn't occur to you the first time you were on the Club Med 1, you were like, I'm going to get married on this ship someday, right?
we didn't. So we met on January 4th, trying to remember. So 1991, we are on the ship in 1992. We got engaged in 1992, I believe, and we got married in 1993 on the ship. But yes, so we got married there. We got married in the Virgin Islands on a ship. We had a priest, and I have a funny story about the priest very quick. I know.
Okay, before that story. So I always see in movies the captain is allowed to marry couples. So this didn't happen. Your captain didn't marry you, right?
We didn't. We are Catholic, so we were looking for a Catholic priest. So we did our pre-Cana in San Barthélemy, which is an island, San Barthélemy, French island. And the plan was for the priest to come on the ship and marry us. But the week before, he tells us, I check with, my superiors or whatever. I have to marry people in the church. So I cannot come. So we speak with the cruise agent. Each port has a cruise agent. I say, we need your help. So he found an Anglican priest that was so awesome. We met with him. He said, absolutely, I can come. But he's asking us, say, can I bring a friend? And Elizabeth and I said, sure. So we decided not to tell Elizabeth's parents that the priest was not a Catholic priest. We just, left it that way. So when Elizabeth's dad came on the ship, he asked, who is that lady that is with the priest? And we told him that was his sister. The only problem is after the wedding, he was kissing his sister on the deck. That was not good. It was really awesome. After the season, we went to Colombusal in Colombusal for the honeymoon. And that's where we were reunited with Hansel at the time, because Hansel was a photographer then. So it's funny how Hansel come back all the time. So.
And also, I think while you were doing the, I guess, Mediterranean leg, you were on the ship at the same time as Barcelona Olympic Games. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. So everybody took a different job, and my job was so everyone that was renting a room for overnight were getting 2 tickets. One ticket for a major Olympic event, and another ticket that was, so you could get track and field and ping pong. What I discovered back then, people sometimes come only for ping pong and they don't want to go to track and field. So I was responsible of doing the ticket exchange. They were coming to my office. So I ended up having a lot of tickets to go see some Olympic venues. And you're going to like this, because when I tell that to my kids, they cannot believe me. But one evening I have tickets. I have tickets to go see basketball, the US team, the Dream Team. I have no idea, Greg, anything. I don't know anything about basketball. The next set of tickets was to go see a track and field, and I had some soccer tickets. So I'm like, I want to go see track and field. So I ended up giving my Dream Team ticket to someone else. He was the land sport. His name was John. He could not believe it. He's like, are you sure? I said, absolutely. Track and field was awesome, by the way. But regardless, when I tell that to my kids, they cannot believe I did this. So,
ouch. Yeah, that kind of hurts, right? I mean,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I assume now like who was on that Dream Team, right? Like you.
Oh, absolutely.
You had your, Scottie Pippen, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley.
You name it.
Okay.
And when I moved to the US in '94, of course, that's when Michael Jordan was coming back.
Yeah.
I was like, what did I do? In retrospect, no.
I think that ticket stub alone would be worth a fortune.
I know. This is so. My 2 kids cannot believe I did that. 2 boys, right. The 2 boys. The girl is fine, but the 2 boys don't understand. So.
Okay. Now let's move along, because I always love talking about Ibiza or Ibiza, because for such a crazy party
Oh my
island.
gosh.
Club Med said,
Yes.
you know what, we're going to put a family village right in the middle of all that. So
Yeah.
what's that like being in a family village in Ibiza?
Well, it's interesting. There is two aspects of Ibiza, even so it's 24/7. You have day and night. So during the day, Club Med Ibiza looks like a Club Med, a normal Club Med. During the night, the village actually was closing pretty early. People are going outside of the village. They have, in Ibiza, when I was there, nightclubs are open 24/7, Greg. Like, I'm not joking. They kind of like one of the nightclubs that was there, very famous, called the Spuma Foam. And people, you go to that nightclub, you dance all night, and around 4 o'clock in the morning, they start dropping foam from the ceiling. So the full nightclubs was filling up with foam. So as a chief of sport, all my snorkeling equipment was disappearing every week because guests were taking snorkeling equipment to go to the Spuma, and usually it was not coming back. So yeah.
So yeah, I guess the snorkel, the tuba served two purposes. You can help you breathe in the foam, and people were doing snorkel shots, I bet. Right?
Yeah, I guess we it was a kind of the summer season of Agadir. Really, a lot of people from Paris were coming. Jonathan Bismuth was the chef of village, and he was also incredible. So learn a lot there. A lot of challenging village, but at the same time a lot of fun. Jonathan was doing a show called Michael Jackson. He was just unbelievable. So just a great season. We had a good time. Excellent team too as well. So had a great time.
And I believe you meet Eric Cantona here, the soccer player, football player.
Oh yeah, yeah, good. There was more than Eric Cantona. Fabien Barthez. I don't know if you know who
Oh yeah.
Fabien Barthez is. Luis Fernandez came. So they were on vacation in Ibiza when professional football players, soccer players are going on vacation. They cannot play soccer. I call it football, obviously. They have to do other sports if they want to do sport. They don't want them to get hurt. So we played with them tennis, football, or tennis, soccer for hours by the pool. We've set up a course, and they loved that, and it was fun. So I really played with Eric Cantona and Fabien Barthez and Luis Fernandez, tennis, football, and that was a lot of fun. Of course, they were super good, but it was fun.
Oh, right. And this was, I guess, one of your favorite sports teams like this season in Ibiza?
Yeah.
Or was this a mini Agadir? Because I see you wrote fun fact mini Agadir. Did we cover that?
Yeah. It's what I meant by that is very demanding.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. But you're right. The sport team was excellent. I mean, when I was chief of sport, all the sport teams were excellent, but that's probably the best sport team because all the people that were responsible for sailing, for land sport, for everything were all future chief of sports in some ways. Some of them, people that work with me in Agadir, but Ibiza became also chief of village, chef de village. So yeah, very, very, very talented team. My wife Elizabeth was awesome too because she was teaching against step aerobic, and people from Paris loved her. She was American, and she did also water aerobic, and she was doing an amazing job. So great season for the sport team for sure.
Then we come up to I believe your last season in Bora Bora, 94. So I think you end when I start because I started in 94.
Yeah.
And Carlos Castro is the chief of village here, right?
That's correct. So I met Carlos when I was in Sandpiper, and we became friends. Carlos is such a nice guy. So when he was ready to open Bora Bora, he connected with me and asked me if I wanted to go. And of course, like who would not like to go there? I mean, Tahiti is just so beautiful, and I've never been to Bora Bora. And of course, I brought my wife with me. I brought also with me, I had a sailing instructor, her name was JJ. And I said, JJ, you want to go to Bora Bora? When you ask all the geos, they cannot believe they are even being asked. So Bora Bora is beautiful. Elizabeth went home into the US. I stayed in Paris for a couple of weeks. The trip from Paris to Bora Bora, when you calculate all the changeovers and everything, it's almost 24 hours travel. and the time change difference is 12 hours. So it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to recover, basically, before you can start functioning normally. So,
do you have so we never talk about the holidays, but is there something different or special about this celebrating Christmas in
yeah,
Tunisia?
I remember, of course, first season of Bora Bora, and we are figuring out how we're going to get a Christmas tree in Bora Bora. So there was a motu, and on that motu, they had, I don't remember the name of the tree. I think it's called iron tree. And there is a reason for this, is you cannot cut the tree. The wood is so hard that you have to spend, I'm not joking, hours to try to cut that tree. So I went with a few sport people, and we spent hours cutting the tree, and we were able to cut the tree, and we put the tree at the entrance of the village. But that's my story about Christmas. That was just such an adventure to try to get a Christmas tree. Bora Bora was fantastic. The Tahitians are wonderful people. The sad story about Bora Bora, I don't know if you know, it really closed, and I saw some pictures where it's completely abandoned. I mean, all the buildings, it's just there. So it's so sad. It was a brand new village in 1994, and just nobody's there. So
Yeah, it is sad, yes, and also Maria as well.
yeah,
I guess you have to make the decision we all make. You weigh pros and cons. So this was your last season in Club Med,
that,
correct?
that's right. Yeah. So at one point you have to decide, hey, am I going to continue this life and having a family, and it's even makes sense to do this. In 1994, kind of figure at one point I would possibly become a chef of village. That was not for sure, but I had a good path. I've done some openings and so on. So I probably eventually I would have done it. But being married, I was thinking, what do we do? So at that point, we decided that if you ever have to stop in one village, there is not a better place to stop than Bora Bora. So we decided that was the time to stop. And we left after the first 6 months. We were supposed to stay 1 year, and we decided that was time. So,
Okay. So what I want to talk about now is, and we will go back to Club Med because
yeah,
I'm fascinated by, like we said in your last episode, you've completed 10 Ironman races,
yeah,
even here in Mont Tremblant, 50
yeah.
marathons and ultras. So how did you know you could do an Ironman like prior to doing your first one? Because it's probably one of the hardest races in the world.
Well, you have to be a little bit stupid. There's just no way around it. And it's not so much the race, but the training is gruesome.
Yes. Well, that's my question, because you have a
Yeah.
family. You have a
Oh, yeah.
family. So how do you find the time to do all this and work? Like how do
Uh,
you juggle all that?
kudos to Elizabeth. I mean, she was very supportive, and she brought the kids to all the races and everything. So I was always interested to do triathlons, not necessarily Ironman. So again, don't quote me on the dates, but I think my first marathon was somewhere around 2005. So I did the Chicago Marathon, and I finished the marathon, and I'm laying down in the grass there for 2 hours after the marathon. And I said, this is it. I would never do that again. And as you know, I've done
I
so
said this.
many.
Well, I said the same thing too. I think everyone does.
Yeah, I'm like, that was so stupid. It's not really needed.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
of course, you don't like the time and say, hey, I wanna
Yes.
I want to do better. So eventually, along the way, running, and I like biking, I'm a swimmer. As I did swim team when I was a kid, but also as a scuba diver, you really have to swim. So eventually, I started to do triathlon. Very interested with Ironman races. So I signed up for my first one, which I ended up not starting. I signed up for Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, and I was sick the day before, so I ended up
Oh,
not.
perfect.
Well, that's funny. Everybody said that. I think I was more nervous than sick, but it really plays with your mind so bad. So I ended up not starting this one. I think that was 2006. So I did my first Ironman, which was in Lake Placid in 2007. But the training is gruesome. Yeah, it's just takes you to the next level.
And what was your like? Do you know what your best time overall is for like the 10
Yeah,
that you did?
yeah. I have the pictures in my office, so I have to glance at it. I'm pretty sure my best time ever is 13 hours and 4 minutes when I did Panama City, so Ironman,
Wow.
Florida.
This is what is crazy is I sent you an article last week where an 80-year-old woman finished just 3 hours after you. How does that make you feel?
It doesn't.
It's
I think
crazy,
I
right?
mentioned, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that to you on the last podcast, but did I tell you about the nun that also did
Yes.
Ironman?
Well, you mentioned, yeah, I looked up this nun. This is going back to the 80s, right? That this nun.
That's right. And so it's funny. So we are watching. We were a group, by the way, a group of people where I used to live. That we were all training together and doing the races together. Anywhere between 8 to 10 people. We have a party going on in my house, and we are watching Kona, the Ironman Kona, and the nun is competing there. And she ended up finishing the Ironman. I don't know. You probably know that 17 hours. I think she did it in 16 hours and 58 minutes. So the motto for the group was "Beat the Nun." We all was it. So we had hats saying BTN, "Beat the Nun." So we were all into this. But yeah, it's incredible because it takes so much, and it's a long day. It's a really long day.
Okay, and let's talk real quick about the Grand Canyon race, the rim to rim to rim.
Yeah.
Essentially, what is that?
Okay, so it's not a race. It's something you do. There is no running race in the Grand Canyon. So when I turned 50, I met a guy that was turning 50 as well. And I always had that dream to run the Grand Canyon. And there is, again, if you go online and they probably don't recommend that you do this, but it's very famous. A lot of people do this. So you start on one side or the other. So the way we did it is we start on the South Rim, and you go down, cross Phantom Ranch, and you go to the South Rim, the North Rim, sorry, turn around, and you come back. So we did that. The first time we did it was 18 hours. It's incredible. This is obviously, you don't race. So Greg, it sounds gruesome, but it's actually quite good. I mean, when you are tired, you stop, you bring food, you bring a picnic in your running backpack. It's so beautiful. And you start at 4 o'clock in the morning. So you go down in the Grand Canyon with a headlight in the dark. And I don't think I have any other word. It's like magic. It's scary at the same time, but same time so amazing. So I ended up doing two, where I ran the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim in one day. The first one was 18 hours. The second one was more than 20 hours. The third that we did, we stayed overnight on the North Rim. And 2 years ago, I did a rim to rim only, where my wife came and her sister and my brother-in-law. So we did like hiking there. That was not running. But if you ever have the opportunity, it's actually not as bad as it sounds, and it's just beautiful.
Well, I don't think I'd ever describe an 18-hour journey as magical, but okay, that's where we differ.
Yeah, it's when I say it's not 18 hours of running, I would be, you kind of run going down, and when you're on the flat, when you climb, you cannot run.
Okay. So are we going to see you at the Moab 240 miler anytime soon? Or?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm done with all of this. I'm not going to say I'm retired. I'm running a marathon in February with my son, but
okay.
I don't do long distances as much as I used to. So
okay, let's go back a bit to my favorite village, Columbus Isle.
Yeah.
So we heard that you had your honeymoon there after you got married on the ship.
That's correct.
And there was also a 30-year anniversary trip, correct?
That's correct. So 1993, Greg, we got married. We go to our honeymoon in Columbus Isle, as we, have our lives going on for 30 years, which is kind of amazing. And we decided for the 30-year anniversary, we should probably go back where it's all started. Not exactly started, but where we did our honeymoon. So we booked a trip there for a week. Didn't realize really when we booked the trip that Hansel and Jean-Paul will be there, 30 years later. So it was great to be reunited with them. And, I scuba dive with Jean-Paul during that trip, which was kind of amazing. Did not scuba dive, Greg, for 30 years. Like, I have not scuba dive. It's like bicycle, really. You don't really lose it. So I had this amazing experience to scuba dive with Jean-Paul 35 years later, because we are going back. We decided we need to start bringing the kids to Club Med. They are older. My daughter is 28, my middle one 26, my youngest 24. So Sophie, Remy, and Tristan. They have been exposed to Club Med before when they were younger, but that will be their second trip. So we are bringing everyone. My middle one is married, so she's coming as well, and very excited. And of course, we're going to miss Hansel. I have pictures, and very sad that he's no longer with us, but looking forward to meet, to see Jean-Paul again. As you know, Jean-Paul is so funny. I cannot wait to have my kids meeting Jean-Paul, basically.
Better give him a heads up.
Yeah, I will.
He's very, very funny.
Absolutely. So
I want to ask you, like, if there's any magical season, like, I don't know if you consider one of your seasons you did over the others. Maybe you like them all for different reasons. Is there one or two that stand out? Like where?
I'm going to say 2 seasons. 1987 Martinique with Christian Fella and Hansel, just because that team was fabulous, and Jean-Paul. It's like a magical season, I will say. I learned how to become a geo then, and most of the people that were there during that season are all connected through Facebook. So that season was incredible. But I would say Club Med 1 was the opening, was also, it's a new world. I mean, you are cruising, you are no longer in a village, you have to learn to do so many things. And working with Yannick was just incredible. So that would say, but they are all great, I mean, look at the places, Bora Bora and all those. So everything was great. I definitely will say that Club Med really made me who I am today. I'm in my work every day. I'm very customer-oriented person, working with people, love talking to people. So I think I was probably that way to start with, but you become what you are because of Club Med, for sure.
And even though you still go to Club Med, is there anything you miss about working?
Well, Club Med has changed, and probably for the better, because I think they needed maybe to change what they were doing. So the geo work, at least what I've seen in 2023, is no longer the same. They have first of all, they have vacation days. I'm like, how is that even possible? We didn't. It's like,
what?
It's like they have 2 days vacation. So you go to the sailing, to get the sailboat. Oh yeah, so and so is on off today. I'm like, what do you mean off? You don't get days off. You also notice that, and I'm sure it depends on who the chef of the village is. The team is not as, entertainment oriented anymore. They still have shows, but not as great, not as funny, but probably for the right thing. It was part of my life that I really love having fun, but you have to move on. So I miss it. I wish my kids would go and work there. I don't think that's going to happen. But it's still such a great concept for vacation. And I've been watching this new Club Med, Greg, called in South Africa. That's going to be opening next summer.
Yes, I saw that.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I want to go there. So we might take the family there in a few years from now. So
yeah, you can do some cage diving with great whites too. Woohoo!
We can learn how to surf.
Yes, that's right.
This is awesome.
Well, yeah, speaking of awesome, thanks for taking the time to do 2 interviews with me. And, I know it's we record this on a Saturday, so I'm really grateful that you took time on your weekend to do this.
No, I want to thank you, Greg. This is what you are doing is incredible. This is like, so I didn't know it was even there until the passing of Hansel, obviously. And when I was searching I came across your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast every day. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's really bring me back in time, and I'm so glad. So this is incredible.
Thank you for saying that. And I really, really do appreciate it. And we are about to, I guess, embark on some French episodes. So look for that, people. Special thanks again to Benoit Collard. Thank you so much, Benoit. If Elizabeth is listening, hi, Elizabeth. No pressure. We would love to hear your story, but yeah, no pressure. So thanks again, Benoit, for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Greg.
That was the one and only Benoit Collard. We'll see you all next week. Bye. Say bye, Benoit.
Bye.